Hello, welcome to this holiday edition of Ask the Experts. I'm Claudia Otero. Joining me today is our very own executive chef, Jason Giles. Thanks for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, and Chef Jason is also the Director of Nutrition Services at our organization. Chef, as you know, inflation, it's been here for a while. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Every trip to the grocery store, well, we're spending a little bit more and more and more money, but you have a solution here with this meal. What's on the menu?
I sure hope so. Yeah, so today we're going to do a pork tenderloin. We're going to saute it off and we're going to do it with a mushroom marsala sauce. We have some roasted root vegetables, so we have carrots and parsnips. We're going to throw some Brussels sprouts in there as well. Then we have a nice potato and cauliflower puree that we're going to serve it with as well.
And look at that, he can't wait to
get
started.
I'm excited.
Okay, well, it sounds delicious. The vegetables look gorgeous. Look at those colors. I'm going to get out of your way so you can get started.
Thanks, Claudia. Appreciate it. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Claudia mentioned, you know, we thought about what we wanted to do this year for a fun demo, and we thought about bringing not only a healthy perspective to the food, to the dish tonight, but also to the thinking about the budget friendly. And so, you know, these days, a lot of the common meats and things that you see at the holidays are getting really expensive out there. So this is a fun alternative to the roast beef or the things that you maybe have a little more challenging find at the store. So we're going to do pork tenderloin today. And it's nice and lean. It's an easy product to get your hands on. And if you're not a pork eater, then I would, you know, very easily these recipes can be switched out with you know, a lean chicken breast or maybe a turkey medallion, something like that. It's very easy to substitute what we're doing. You just substitute the protein out and make sure you cook it to the proper temperature. But so to get started, it's kind of a process. It looks like there's a lot of prep out here, but the reality is it's not that intensive of a dish to put together. It goes together pretty fast. The longer parts of the dishes that takes time is the potatoes and the cauliflower puree. So we're going to go ahead and get that started right now. And for that, we have a pan. We have a saucepan that you're going to use on your stovetop. And we've already cut up and cleaned up some cauliflower. So it's 1 head of cauliflower to 4 russet potatoes is what we put together. And this meal is basically built out to feed 4 people. So what you're going to do is in a saucepan, you're going to add in your cauliflower. You're going to add in your cut up potatoes. You want them about the same size when you're cutting them in. So when you see here, it's like we have both the cauliflower and the potatoes that are about the same size. That way they cook about the same time as well. And we're going to throw them in here. We'll put a little bit of water on there. And get those cooking while we get everything else going. We're going to put just a pinch of salt in here. Not a lot. Get that started up. Get that going, and we're going to get that cook for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes until the potatoes are soft and the cauliflower is soft. While that's going, we're going to go ahead and get the pork started. So the pork tenderloin, you can find it at just about any grocery store you'd like, that you like to visit. The pork tenderloin is different than a pork loin, so you're going to make sure that you find the actual tenderloin. It's a little bit smaller cut of meat, and it's definitely more tender. So we're going to throw some gloves on here, and then we're going to get this cleaned up and ready to go. So for this dish, we're looking at about 3 to 4 ounces of pork per person, and we're going to clean up the pork and slice it into medallions. And make it real easy. It's really a fast cook when you do it this way. You're going to take off a little bit of the silver skin, which is the white part of the muscle that's a little bit tougher to eat through if you don't clean it off. All right, get that cleaned up. And then we're going to take the tenderloin here. We're going to just cut it into some about 2-ounce portions. We're going to pound them out a little bit thin. I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, so we have our pork here. So we're going to take our medallion, just to give it a little bit more plate coverage. We're going to take a mallet. Get your mallet. If you don't have a mallet, you can always use a saute pan or a heavy bottom pan at home. But you're just going to pound this real gently just to spread it out a little bit. Give yourself a little bit more surface space to cook with. So it's about a little less than a ½ inch thick, and you're going to be ready to go with that. One thing about the pork tenderloin here is that if you cut it, when you cut it on you start pounding on the cut side of the way you did it, it's going to pound out nice and easy, real easy for you. All right. So we're going to use these 3 pork medallions. I'm going to move this back. Okay. And so for this, we're going to get our pan, start warming our pan up. I like to use a stainless steel pan or a metal pan, non-Teflon for this, because I wanted to build up a little bit of a crust on the bottom. I'm going to use that for our sauce. And so by adding that little bit of crust to the bottom, I'm going to get extra flavor in there, and it's going to be super nice for the finished product. Okay, so we have our pork tenderloin. We have our little medallions that we've cut up and portioned out. Okay, we're going to have a seasoning blend. For this dish and for this season, we've mixed together a little seasoning blend of cumin, black pepper, a little bit of kosher salt, a touch of cinnamon, and a little bit of coriander, and mix them all together to give it a nice spice, a nice flavor, but not overpower the dish as well. We'll season both sides. All right, we'll set our spices aside. Now, for this dish, again, like I said, we're trying to build up a little bit of a crust. So I'm going to dredge these in a little bit of, I'm going to sprinkle some flour on both sides of the pork so I get a little bit of crust on this when I'm searing it off. All right. Okay. So from here, now I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to check, make sure my pan's getting warm. Yep. Turn this down a little bit. About 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of the pan. You don't need a lot. You're not frying it. You're just sauteing it and searing it. So you just want to give it a little bit of oil. Let that heat back up. All right. And then we're going to go at this point. Wait till we see just a little bit of smoke coming off of this. Then we know it's nice and hot and ready to go. So when you're working with any pork or any kind of raw meat, you want to make sure, like you saw, I had gloves on. You want to make sure you keep your area clean and that you're not cross-contaminating any of the dishes, any of the food that you're working with. It's really important that you work smart and work healthy so that all your guests and yourself can stay healthy for the whole holiday season. And anytime really you're in the kitchen, you want to make sure you think about those things when you're working on it. Okay, so we're about ready to go here. So I'm going to take the pork here, throw it in the pan. We're going to start to get a sear on this. All right. We'll save that for when we pull them off here in a minute. All right. So while the pork's starting to cook, we're going to talk a little bit about the vegetables. So the root vegetables, or the vegetables that we're using today, really is, you can use whatever you like. Today we've picked a nice variety of vegetables. We have some parsnips, we have some carrots, we have some turnips, we have some baby shallots or cut up shallots, and some Brussels sprouts. This time of year, you're looking at those kinds of root vegetables and dark green vegetables like the Brussels sprouts to be able to use for your plate and your dishes. So find what you like. I encourage you, if you put things on your menu that you don't like, you're less likely to want to go back to them and enjoy them later. So I would definitely recommend find the things that you really like. We have peeled and diced the vegetables and got them ready, and we've done a quick blanch on them. So blanching is just a pot of hot salted water. We cook the vegetables until they start to become tender, and we take them out and we shock them in ice water. And that way they don't take as long to cook in the pan when we're gonna glaze them here in just a few minutes. And so it's a real quick finish. Again, time is the other, we talked about budget. Well, I don't know about you, but on this time of year, my budget also includes the time that it takes me to do stuff. And there's always seems to be something that I'm needed to go do. So if I have time on the weekend, I can get this done a few days ahead of time, and I can set it in the refrigerator and have it ready to go. So when it's time to make the dinner, it's really quick and easy. I don't have to take that time to do it. So the pork here is starting to sound really nice. It's starting to get a nice golden color to it. I'm going to give it a flip here. when you pound the medallions out like I did, the pork cooks much faster. You're looking about 60 to 90 seconds on each side to give it a really nice crust, but also it's going to give it a nice finished cook all the way through, and you're not going to have to overdo it. The important thing is that if you overcook your food, it's going to be dry and you're just not going to enjoy it as much. So just be cautious of it and think about what you're doing. And big thing is don't forget about them, because they are thin and they will burn really fast if you're not careful with it. So I'm going to move these potatoes off here as they're cooking. Pull up my other pan here for the glazed vegetables. So on this glazed vegetable pan, we're going to get it nice and warm. Start it off on medium-high heat and let that get nice and toasty for us before we put anything in it. Turn this pork over one more time. Give it about 30 more seconds on this other side again. Then we'll pull them off, and we'll finish them off in the sauce when we're done. So we're really just getting a nice sear on it and getting a really good crisp crust on it, and then we're going to pull it off, and then we'll put them back in to finish it off in just a minute. All right, so we'll hold the pork here for a second. Now, in our pan, we have got a nice little glaze. A little bit of the flour and the juices from the meat have crusted up and have a nice little crust on the bottom, and we're going to use that to build flavor into our dish today. So at this point here, we're going to take some minced shallots and some minced garlic, and we're going to add it to this into this pan here. Give that a quick saute. You got to be careful. The pan's warm, so we don't want it to burn. So we just got to make sure we keep moving it around, building some nice flavors on here. Wish you guys could be here to smell it, because the smell, the aroma is absolutely fantastic. Then we're going to hit it with a little bit of Marsala wine. Again, it doesn't need to be a lot. We're just looking for some flavor. And then as that cooks down, we're going to hit it with some chicken stock. And we're going to let that come up to a real gentle simmer. Then we're going to add in our mushrooms. All right, we're going to let that cook for a couple minutes. We'll get on to our vegetables here. All right, so the vegetable pan's getting nice and warm. We're going to start off with just a little bit of butter. Get that into the pan. We're going to add some of our vegetables. I'm going to add the parsnips in. I'm going to add the carrots in and the shallots in for right now. I'm also going to take a couple of cloves of whole garlic here. And you can use your chopped garlic if you want, or you can use, like I'm doing here, the whole garlic. I just like to take my knife and give it a smash, and that way I can throw it in here, and if I want, I can take the garlic out so it's not quite as strong. But it's getting to give it a really nice aroma and flavor to this roasted root vegetables. Now, since we call these glazed vegetables, I am going to do a little bit of brown sugar in the pan just to give us a little bit of sweetness and also give us a little bit of a shiny crust on the vegetables. It's not a lot of brown sugar. It's just a little bit, just to help caramelize them up for us. A little pinch of salt. And I also like to, at this point, I have some fresh herbs. I have some thyme, whole sprig. I'm going to use the whole sprig here. I'm going to drop them into the pan. I have a couple of pieces of rosemary. Again, I'm just going to drop them right into the pan. That way I can pull them off of there, and they're not as intense, but I'm going to get the flavor out of it when I'm sauteing it down. So we're going to give that a quick mix in there. Go ahead and add our Brussels sprouts and our turnips. Okay, so you see here our mushroom sauce is coming along really nice. It's starting to cook down. We're going to add just a touch of cream to this, just to richen it up just a little bit. About 2 ounces, doesn't need to be a ton. All right, so we're going to get that going. We're going to add our pork back into this now. And we're going to let the pork finish cooking as it's simmering in this sauce here. So you can see here the vegetables are starting to get a really nice golden color to them. They're getting nice and tender, and the aroma is just beautiful in it right now. So to help these along too, I'm going to give it just a splash of chicken stock into it, just to make sure they're heated up all the way through. To get ready to go with that. So as I mentioned, if we plan ahead and you do some prep a little bit ahead of time, this meal can go together really quickly. You can buy sliced mushrooms already sliced if you'd like, or you can get your favorite mushroom, portobellos, cremini mushrooms, whatever's available at your local store. And you have your prep and ready to go, and it doesn't get overwhelming when it's time to cook down and sit down and cook for the family and have a nice dinner. So as these things are finishing up and the sauce is reducing here on the pork, and the flavors are getting nice and intensified there, and the vegetables are just about glazed here, I'm going to talk you through the potato puree. So the potatoes and the cauliflower, you would cook them just like you would mashed potatoes. After they're done cooking and they're tender, you're going to drain the water off, let them dry in the colander for maybe about a minute to a minute and a half, so that you get all the water, all the moisture out of it. And then you're going to add it to a blender. So instead of being a potato mash, this is a puree. So we'll get a blender, and you put it in the blender, you add a little bit of cream to it, a little bit of butter, and a touch of chicken stock, and you get the puree going, and you blend it until it's nice and smooth in the blender for you. And you season it with a little touch of salt and pepper. So I have a finished product here that we've already pureed up. And it's, again, like I said, it's really nice and silky, it's smooth, but it still has a really nice, rich flavor. And it is healthier because you have substituted half the potatoes for some cauliflower in there, which still gives it a nice, earthy flavor without taking away from that rich creaminess that you would get from the potatoes. So all of our items are starting to come together here. The sauce is looking really good on the dish here, on the pork. Pork is just about done temperature-wise, cooked all the way through. So we're going to start plating this up. So for this dish, again, like I said, we have the potato and cauliflower puree here. We're going to just do a nice dollop of that right just off center of the plate. And then we're going to take some of our beautiful vegetables that we've been cooking here. And again, the advantage, like we said, we put the whole herbs in it, that we can leave these herbs on the side so no one has to bite into a rosemary leaf or something that might be unpleasant. You can pull them to the side, and it makes it so you get the full flavor and the benefit from the herb, but you don't have to worry about having an unappealing taste or bite into that. All right. And then lastly, we're going to pull the pork off here. Put the sauce back on just a minute, continue to reduce it down. Pull this other medallion off. Oops. In the finishing off the sauce, I'm going to take some chopped chives and add it to this. All right, we'll give it a quick taste for seasoning. Oh, that's nice. Very nice. Just a little touch of salt. We're ready to go here. Use a little bit of fresh herbs here to garnish it up. And there we have a beautiful holiday meal that was quick and easy and budget friendly for us to prepare. Thanks everybody. That was the entree portion. Now we're going to move to the dessert portion. We're going to eat that up and enjoy the pork. So dessert, oftentimes I think people get overwhelmed and a little bit nervous about making desserts, and so I have a quick and easy recipe that I like to put together at home. The family seems to really enjoy it, and like I said, it's quick and easy. It's about 3 ingredients, maybe 4 if you count the egg wash on there. So I'm going to pull that over here, and we'll get that going for you. The dessert is an apple tart using puff pastry. This time I'm using Honeycrisp apples because they're in season. And it's a little bit of cinnamon and sugar, and like I said, a little bit of egg wash. So for this here, for the Honeycrisp apple, I like to use an apple that has a little bit more sweetness than a Granny Smith, but texture-wise, you want to have a nice crisp apple. You don't want something too soft, like a Jonathan or a Fuji apple, which tends to be a little bit soft when you're cooking with it. So for this one here, we're going to take a whole apple. We're just going to peel it real quick, take the skins off. Generally, if you're doing this for a large group of people, you might want to have a little bit of like lemon juice and water on the side to be able to put the apples in, so that they don't start to turn brown on you. But we're going to work this one pretty quick, so we don't need to worry about it too much. Okay, so we're going to just cut about 1/2-inch size rounds out of the apple. You get about 3 good-sized tarts out of each apple. So if you're making for 4, you probably need to do 2 apples. And then I have a ring cutter, a biscuit cutter. This is I don't know, it's about 1.5 inches in diameter. And I'm just going to cut the core out. So I want a nice round core, hole in the middle. Okay, set those here. And then I have already mixed together, I have some cinnamon and sugar, white sugar, equal parts. Oh, not really equal parts. Probably about 2 cups of, if you're doing it for 4 people, I like to do about 2 cups of sugar to about 1/4 cup of cinnamon, so you get a nice flavor blend in there. Just make sure it's mixed up well. Then we're going to take our apple ring, and we're going to drop it right into here and just coat it with the cinnamon and sugar. Do that for all of your apple rings, get them all set up. And then we'll start working with the puff pastry. So the puff pastry, make sure you follow, if you get it at your grocery store, make sure you follow the directions for getting it out. You can't work with it frozen, so it has to make sure that it's been defrosted in the refrigerator. Usually overnight's the best way of doing it. That's nice and easy to work with. We're going to take our puff pastry, it folds open like this. And then I'm going to cut it into quarters here. Okay, so you can be as fancy or tricky as you want. You don't, or you can keep it as simple as you like. I like to give myself a little bit of design in here. So I cut a little in each corner. I cut a little L into the puff pastry, and I will wrap that around the ring of the apple here in just a second. The advantage to this dessert is that, again, you can make it early in the evening before your guests show up, and the house smells wonderful. It smells kind of like cinnamon and apple pie, and it's just fantastic. So here I'm going to take the ring of the apple, and I'm going to put it right in the center of the puff pastry here. And then I'm going to take my corners here, and I'm going to fold it over to the middle. This way, I get a nice, beautiful design that looks like I spent years in pastry school, and I didn't have to do it. I just had to be creative in my thought process. So I'm going to put this onto a little baking sheet. Here, and then we brush them with some egg wash. Egg wash is just a scrambled egg that you would just have in a dish, and you're going to do that because it's going to give it a nice little bit of color and glaze on here. And then sprinkle it with a little bit more cinnamon and sugar. All right. So that's going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes. You're going to see the puff pastry get nice and golden brown and puff up around the sides, and the apple is going to be nice and tender in that. So for the sake of time, we've already got some done. So I'll pull those out here. And we have some wonderful vanilla ice cream to go with it. And this is a quick and easy holiday favorite at my house that has full flavor and is just right for this type of year and this type of season. So hopefully you can take these recipes and try them out at home and try them out with your family and friends and have a good time with it. And just remember, whenever we're in the kitchen, we should always try and have a good time and enjoy what we're doing, because that love transfers through to the food, and it is a great time of year to spend time with family and friends and enjoy a great meal. So thank you very much, and happy holidays.
Well, and thank you very much, Chef. This looks amazing, and if you could all smell this, you would be, well, you'd be very hungry like I am right now. So, yeah, no, thank you for this.
Thank you, Claudia. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Of course, and it's an economical and time friendly.
It is time friendly. It's time friendly. It's on the healthier side of most of the dishes you see this time of year, and it is definitely budget friendly.
And then these vegetables, the colors, and they smell amazing. And of course, that dessert is winking at me. So right after we wrap up, you know what I'll be doing. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Of course. This video will stay right here on our Facebook page. Please like and share it. And we hope that you can make this very easy, budget-friendly, and time-friendly meal at home so you can enjoy with your families, not just during the holidays, but pretty much year-round.
Year-round, absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And on behalf of us, happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.